All right, welcome back, everybody. Part 2 of Living Jewishly is knowing our Parsha. Parsha's Pinchas. Pinchas is the 8th portion in the book of Numbers, the book of Bamidbar, the 41st Parsha since the beginning of the Torah, and we have 168 verses, 1,886 words, and 7,853 letters. Okay, there are 6 mitzvahs, all performative mitzvahs in this week's Parsha, and there are 0 prohibitions in this week's Parsha. Okay, what goes on in this week's Parsha? So we know we finished last week's Parsha with the story of Pinchas putting the dagger through the 2 individuals, Cosby and Zimri, who were doing an act of inappropriateness in public. And we know the Torah forbids one to be with a non-Jew. And here he was with a Midianite woman. So Hashem tells Moshe to inform Pinchas that he will receive Hashem's Covenant of Peace award. He's the recipient, the annual recipient of the Covenant of Peace award, in reward for his bold action executing Zimri and the Midianite princess Cosby. So there's an important piece of information to know here. We mentioned this last week, that our actions have a great reward. Not always is the reward here. Not always is the reward going to be in this world and immediate. In immediate, here, identifiable. But there's always a reward. There's no such thing as a person does something that doesn't get seen by the Almighty. Everything that a person does, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tallies it up, and they will receive the appropriate reward. So if you did a mitzvah, and you say, I don't understand. I thought if I give more charity, I'll make more money, and I didn't make more money. So you see, the whole thing's a scam. No, it doesn't work like that. Right? Hashem has the big tally. And I'll tell you just a quick story to give you this to bring this to life, and you understand the greatness of my mother. It was her birthday yesterday, so I want to congratulate her on her birthday. My mother's a very, very special, holy woman. Yes. And, my mother, for many, many years, has volunteered as a shadchan. A shadchan is someone who puts together a man and a woman so that they can date and hopefully get married. She's done many, many shidduchim. But for whatever her mazel is, she never made a shidduch for one of those heavy rollers, the people who throw down the big checks. Thank you so much. Our life wouldn't be the same without you. Thank you. You know what I mean? One of those. She gets the one, they send a nice plant and goodbye. Now, even though there's a custom. It's a very important thing that you pay the person who put you together, call it. What? A tip. More than a tip. It's like a finder's fee. It's a finder's fee. Now, there are many people who are very, very, very generous. I'm talking about in the 5 digits, thanking them. And, it's a special thank you. Not everyone can afford that. But there's a big difference between an $18,000 thank you for finding our thing and a little plant. So my mother always said, she said the following. She says, Hashem wants me to get all my reward in the world to come.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Right. He wants me to get all my reward in the world to come, and it's and that's the way she really feels. She really feels that I'm doing Hashem's work, and I don't want that reward here. I'll get that reward there.
But aren't a lot of the shadchans people who charge a fee, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
But your mother wasn't charging.
No, she doesn't charge a fee.
But there are a lot of them.
There are people. There are many. Yeah. In fact, the majority of them have certain. There are some who write contracts. They'll write a contract saying, if I find your shidduch, then this is the fee. Okay, that's your choice if you want to hire those people.
It's
right?
More like she's in a fantasy football league.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so never ever forget. Hashem commands us. It commands Moshe to maintain a state of enmity with the Midianites who lured the Jewish people into sin. Do you know who the worst enemy is of the Torah? The worst enemy of the Torah is not someone who sins, but someone who gets someone else to sin. Come, you're luring them into sin. That is the worst. It's called a mesis umediach. Someone who not only himself does, but now gets other people to do bad with him. That is the most despised by the Almighty. And that is the greatest sin of all sinners. Okay. Moshe and Elazar are told to count the Jewish people. The Torah lists the names of the families of each tribe. It's a question of why we have to get into the names, but probably as a reminder that we have different leaders now because many of them were killed, or many of them died off already. Many of them were the spies who went into the land of Israel and gave a false testimony. The total number of males eligible to serve in the army was 601,730, says the Torah. Hashem instructs Moshe how to allot the land of Israel to Bnei Yisrael, and the number of the Levite families are recorded. Now, if you notice, the next section we have is about the inheritance of the land, but I didn't include that because it goes back to the tribe of Levi after talking about that Hashem instructs Moshe how to allot the land when they go in. Why? Because the tribe of Levi didn't get any land in the land of Israel. Why? Why not?
We got the cities of inheritance.
Because
they were servants of the temple.
Because they were servants of the temple, and everyone wanted to have a Levi or two in their midst, for many reasons, but also they were the Torah scholars. And you wanted to have a nice rabbi who was going to be inspiring. So you'd bring that Levi in. You'd bring from the tribe of Levi, you'd bring either a Kohen or a Levi, someone who was a scholar, to come and teach in your dwellings, in your place. Now, I want to tell you, there's an amazing Mishnah. The Mishnah says, this is, I believe, in the end of the 6th chapter of Pirkei Avot, of Ethics of Our Fathers, where the Mishnah says that people came to one of the great Tanaic sages and said, why don't you come with us and live with us and be our leader and be our teacher? So he says, if you'd say, come with us and inspire us, that's one thing. But what were you telling me? You're coming, come with us and live with us, meaning be like us and also be our teacher. He says, that I can't do. That I don't do. I don't want to be like you. If you want me to just come with you and be your inspiration, I'll be happy to do that. But come be with us, and come, be like us, and also good luck on trying to inspire us, right? That's not where we go. So, and this is a very important thing. My grandfather said that when he went to Sweden during the Holocaust, he ran away to Sweden. He was there for 9 years. And he saw many, many rabbis coming from Poland, from Eastern Europe. And they came to Sweden. He says the majority of them ended up losing their faith. The vast majority of them. Why? Because slowly they got secularized. Yeah. Slowly they got, first they came, and then you know what? You missed davening, and then you missed this, and you missed that. And then it's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to live? How am I going to this? How am I going to that? And then they marry whoever they marry. And before you know it, there's nothing left. And that's a terrible tragedy. A person needs to make sure that they're in a place, in an environment that is uplifting, in an environment that is responsible for them. And we're living today in a very challenging time. In a very challenging time where we have an enormous drifting away of Jewish people. And it's not because they're wanting to. It's not because they're wanting to. It's because they're not inspired to stay with it. Right? Nobody says, I want to eat pork because I know it's against the Torah and I want to go against the Torah. I'll tell you what, they've told me this. They're like, Rabbi, you know what? And they're trying to they give you an excuse. They're like, it's like, it's not really that bad anymore because, they give you the trigonosis or whatever other stupid answer they give to justify it. Mm-hmm. But no one says, I just want to go against the Torah. Nobody wants to go against the Torah. Now, sometimes their Yetzer Hara, sometimes their evil inclination is a little bit stronger than their will to stay on the path. But if we don't inspire others, if we don't encourage others, then they can drift away. And if we are not careful, we can drift away with them. So inheritance. Tzlofchad's daughters file a claim with Moshe. In the absence of a brother, they request their late father's portion of the land. Moshe asks Hashem for the ruling, and Hashem tells Moshe that their claim is just, and the Torah teaches the laws and priorities which determine the order of inheritance, who gets what, and how it's divided. The Torah gives all of that delineation. But here we have the daughters of Tzlofchad. They also got a portion of the land, even though their father was killed, right? And their brother, they didn't have any brother. So now it's only girls. What are you going to do? Well, they also get a portion of the land. Moshe's inheritance for the Jewish people. What was Moshe's inheritance for them? What did he leave behind for them? So
The Torah, 13 times.
The Torah, what else? What else did he leave behind? We talked about this last week. Right? We talked about it 2 weeks ago. And we'll see in a second. Hashem tells Moshe that he will ascend the mountain and view the land that the Jewish people will soon enter. Not you, Moshe. Someone else will. Not you. Although Moshe himself will not enter. Right? So why was it important for Moshe to take a look at it? Why was it important? To generate a desire. Moshe gave us as an inheritance the desire for the land of Israel.
Yeah, I remember saying that. Yeah.
Because you know what? And it was, in fact, some of our commentaries, our sages tell us that was Moshe's intention by hitting the rock and not speaking to the rock. He didn't lose his temper. He did it intentionally, knowing that this would result in him not entering the land of Israel. And he was ready to give up his own pleasure of entering into the land of Israel, so that forever the inheritance for the Jewish people will be that thirst, that yearning to enter into the land.
Our yearning now.
Exactly. It's the craziest thing. Right? What person from India says, "Oh, I can't wait to go to India. My grandparents were from there, and I just want to go back." Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever said that. Right? Neither from China or Korea or any place else. Nobody ever said that. Jerusalem, oh my goodness. Just like, I can't wait to go back. I yearn to go back. That's what Moshe's inheritance to the Jewish people was. Yes.
So why did Hashem tell Moses to bring a staff when he was going towards the rock? Well, Hashem tells him, speak to the rock, but he also tells him, bring your staff.
We tried to call you the other day to ask.
Why did he?
We were sitting and having this discussion, because it says that.
Right. And,
So
and what do you
intention
think?
was-
Exactly.
Obviously.
Here's
Could you
your
repeat the
choice.
question? I couldn't hear.
Why did Hashem tell Moshe, bring your staff to the rock, if his goal was to talk to the rock? Because Hashem, I think, knows a thing or two about what we're thinking.
Yeah,
Right? You think, maybe?
he wanted Moses to do that.
Well, that was Moshe's inheritance, where he was being selfless in saying, you know what? Now, 3,334 years since the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, what do the Jewish people desire? To go back to the land of Israel. Do you know how many people? I was just going through this. We had a couple of friends. We were sitting, and we're realizing how many people from our neighborhood made Aliyah in the past 10 years.
A few.
A lot. It's so many people, so many families. We're like, it's unreal. Who in the world is moving to a place that some of them never went to? Or if they did, like, you're going to a foreign land for what? It's my homeland. There's a yearning for it. My mother, you wake her up any time of night. She'll say, we're going to Israel. No problem. What time we're leaving? Like, she's up. She'll get her bags together, out. Let's go. No warning needed. You just say, boo, she's out. To Yerushalayim, forget it. It's like my mother, every day in Jerusalem is a great day. Every great day in her life is a great day, but every day in Jerusalem is like the sun is shining. And it's like my mother has such a love and an infatuation with the land of Israel. It's like unbelievable. So I tell my mother, like, why don't you just buy a dryer? Why don't you buy, when we lived in Israel, like, buy a dryer. What are you hanging the clothes? Like, it's like, Just buy a dryer. It's not so expensive to buy a dryer. I'll buy you a dryer. Like, you need to hang the clothes. It's so much work. She says, no, it's the air of Jerusalem. It's like the air of Jerusalem is trying. It's like she can't help herself, right? It's like, oh, the sun in Eretz Yisrael is, on the clothes. It makes us, it's like, oh, yeah, Hashem should bless her with good health. Hashem should bless her with many, many years of great health.
How does your father feel about Jerusalem? Same?
My father grew up in Israel, so he's not crazy about Israelis. Yeah, that's the way it is. But he loves Israel, and I don't think he likes Israelis much. So
They're kind of tough.
Well, your mother just likes Israel.
They're very tough. My mother loves Israel, and she loves Israelis. I'll tell you, I love Israelis too. I just think you need them in small doses. It's like one slowly. No, but the thing is that Israel's the most special people on earth. They will take their shirt off the back for anyone, at any time, at any place. It's the most remarkable people on earth. So, okay, now we're going to see about true leadership. What happens to Moshe? Moshe asks Hashem to designate the subsequent leader. He's not picking favorites. Oh, give my son. I'm going to give him a job. No nepotism here. So Hashem, you're picking the next leader. And Hashem selects Yehoshua bin Nun. Moshe ordains Yehoshua as his successor in the presence of the entire nation. Why is that important?
So everybody recognizes.
So they'll follow.
So that they all follow him. Very good. That they all follow him. So it shouldn't be like, oh, we have this rogue new leader who nobody's ever heard of. No. Moshe's there. And by the way, this is a while still before Moshe's dying. Don't forget, we still have the 36 days of the book of Deuteronomy. We're going to get through that. We still have those 36 days, but this is a little bit before that. Still, Moshe is designating Yehoshua. Guys, get ready. Your next leader is Yehoshua. And you know what? When Yehoshua speaks, Moshe is going to sit and listen to him as well. I want to tell you what this is similar to. You ever heard of Rabbi Meir? Rabbi Meir Shapiro. Rabbi Meir Shapiro is the founder of the Daf Yomi. It was his idea in the early 1900s that people should start learning the daily folio of Talmud, of which I'm very proud. The past 13 days, I've been on schedule with the tractate of Ketubot. I told you I'm going to try it. Baruch Hashem, Hashem has blessed me to be up to date. Okay, so this started with Rabbi Meir Shapiro. Rabbi Meir Shapiro came up with this idea, and who is he? He was a young rabbi. He was in his 20s. No. He was from Lublin. He had a yeshiva. In his 20s. He had a yeshiva with hundreds of students. Came up with this idea. And he traveled to, I believe it was not Prague. It was in Austria. Vienna. Right? They had the rabbinic meeting, the Moetzes Gdolei Torah, all the leaders of all of the Hasidic dynasties. The Chavetz Chaim was there. All of the great rabbis were there. And this was a meeting, a convention of the rabbis. And there's actually footage that was found of the Chavetz Chaim entering the convention. Unbelievable footage. You see the Chavetz Chaim, it's like, wow, it's unreal. Either way. So before the convention started, Rabbi Meir Shapiro went over to the Chavetz Chaim and presented his idea of the Daf Yomi. Chavetz Chaim loved it. The Chavetz Chaim loved the idea. So he asked the Chavetz Chaim, would you present it? Present the idea. You, then listen to me. I'm a 20-year-old schnook. Who am I? No one's ever heard of me. So the Chavetz Chaim says, no. When we're having the convention, I want you to come a few minutes late. And I'm going to ask you to speak. Okay? So I don't think Rabbi Meir Shapiro understood what was going to happen here. But sure enough, the convention begins, and the Chavetz Chaim, the whole program begins, and Rabbi Meir Shapiro walks into the room, and the Chavetz Chaim stops and stands up for him.
Oh, wow.
And everyone's like, Chavetz Chaim is standing up? Who's this guy? Yeah. Who's this guy? And then the Chavetz Chaim says, this is the man that's here to present something that's going to change the Jewish world forever. And of course, everyone's like, the Chavetz Chaim gives him such an introduction. This is a guy we all need to listen to. But it reminded me when I heard this story of how Moshe treated Yehoshua. How Moshe doesn't say, it's like, no, you're going to come in, you're going to speak. I'm going to show everyone what it means to respect you. I'm going to stand up for you. I'm going to listen. I'm going to follow what you say because you're the next leader. And that's what the Chavetz Chaim did. Chavetz Chaim stopped everything. Says, 1 second, this is a great rabbi who's going to change the Jewish future. Let's hear what he has to say. He presented the Daf Yomi, and the Daf Yomi ever since has been growing by tens of thousands of people. Every cycle, every 7.5 years, it starts over again. Every 7.5 years, you have tens of thousands of new people joining this daily journey through the Talmud. It's unbelievable. It's an amazing, true leadership.
So you
Right.
got to the 13th day of the 7-year cycle?
What's that? Well, I started in the beginning and I fell off the train, and now I'm jumping back on the train. So
No, they just
they just started a new track day.
It's not the whole thing.
You're right. So they just finished a track date last week. So they had over here the celebration for the Houston Daf Yomi, which is a torch project. We started that all the way back in 2003, I believe it was. And ever since, every single day, there's not only one, but 2 Daf Yomis taught by Torch. One in the morning, one in the evening. And by Rabbi Nagel. Yeah,
Does
sure.
he do both of them?
He does both of them. He does one at 7 in the morning and one at 7 in the evening.
I've been reading since January 5th of 2020.
Look at that.
day.
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
Impressive, Howard.
Proud of you, Howard. Proud of you.
Wow.
Right?
I'm up to 847 or something like that.
847. That's incredible. You're almost there.
I'd like to read with the rabbi you mentioned, though. I never heard him.
Rabbi Nagel. So you can do it online with him. You can join online. It's on Zoom.
Okay.
And he also has a podcast where it's a half-hour review of the yesterdays, and then a half hour of the new daf, and then the next day he does a review again.
Really?
And then Now that's not the one that I listen to. I listen to one that goes very fast. It's it's extremely fast. We go through every single word, and he explains it very clearly, and I just because my ADHD will kick in very, very quickly. Okay, now the Torah portion, this week's Torah portion concludes with the special teachings of the service in the Beis Hamikdash, the festive offerings. You see on the bottom, I put together a little bit of a short, quick review. Moses commanded to kill Midian, the new census, the total count, daughters of Tzlachot, one inheritance of the land, the laws of inheritance. God shows Moshe the land. Moses asks for a successor, and the festive offerings. My dear friends, that concludes the summary of this week's Torah portion. I encourage everyone to read through not only the Hebrew, the English, the Aramaic, the translations, everything of each portion. You read in the Art Scroll Stone Edition, beautiful blue one. You can read in the red one, which is the interlinear, which is even more. But then you look at the commentaries, and it's just great. Learn. My dear friends, have a remarkable evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Great.
So, Rabbi,
Thank you.